didn't hear it.
Right.
And now the county, in its infinite wisdom, decided to widen the road, even though it was a scenic highway. And, you were going to keep the trees, and they had a pictorial about how the Center Islands will maintain the trees and this, that, and the other thing. You go up there, the first thing they did was chop everything down.
You know why they do that?
Well, because it's easier for construction.
Not only that, those trees will die.
Well,
with the construction, it will kill them. It may take 5 years, but then they have to have limbs falling on the roads and on people's vehicles. That's why they cut them down. It's actually easier.
Anyway, the thing is, you were talking about when you hit these areas, the temperature goes down. And I distinctly remember looking at I have one of the cars. My cars had the outside temperature gauge on there, and you could turn the corner at State Road 27 and start heading north, and you could see that temperature gauge actually going down.
Yes.
And I've seen it as much as 10 degrees cooler riding up that road in the shade of those trees and the grasses and everything all around.
And not just that, once you're past State Road 40, you're actually in North Florida. So sometimes that actually just has to do with the topographical layout of the land. I used to notice it just driving straight up 441 when my daughter was in high school, and I would cross 27, and I could, because I had no heat in my car at the time, and I could feel the temperature drop 5 degrees.
Well,
and that was just on a straightaway. So some of it is just our the topographical layout of the land.
Yeah,
some of it is the trees. But
you mentioned that, and we go down State Road 200 a lot, down towards that top of the world area.
Right.
And I notice it all the time when I get on the 60th to come north, because I get off, where 60th ends at 27, and I go make my turns to get home. And going up 60th, you can actually see the temperature drop like 3, 4, 5 degrees.
Sometimes you can.
I often thought about that. I don't know. I just thought it was just my imagination, but I'm glad to hear you had that same experience.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see it when I pull into my yard, because I have quite a canopy of trees in my own yard, and just coming off the road and turning down the side road to get to my home is much more treed. There's no asphalt on the road, but so it's not absorbing it there, and you just automatically feel a coolness. Of course, then again, it could also be I'm going home. It's a chance to relax also.
No, I noticed that, and you mentioned it, so I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one, and I definitely believe in it too.
Oh yeah,
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You
Have
too.
a good weekend.
You too. Thanks. Yeah, with a lot of times, and I know I don't want to get off on something that is part of the DOT and the county, et cetera, on widening roads and things like that. But when they build parking lots, when they do widen a road, and they promise that they're going to keep the trees on the side of the road, and then they don't, it's probably better, because the tree would have died anyway when they do that. It takes a little longer just because of disturbing the root zones, compacting of the roots. They can't leave a large enough circumference around the tree to protect those roots, especially not when they're doing a road. If they're having to go around some of them. They built the parking lot at the livestock pavilion several years ago. They left the trees. They're being replaced one by one because they've died.
Because of the exhaust?
Because of compaction, because of the construction.
Okay. See, I remember a bush in my driveway.
There's some plants that are much more susceptible to exhaust, and especially when it's the kind of thing in the wintertime. We hop in the car, we turn the key, and get the heater on while we run back in the house and pick up our lunch, and that exhaust is sitting there blowing on a specific plant. Yes, that will stress them too, but usually on the roadways, the big trees and things, it is as a result of construction, and this occurs even in our own home lots. If we're building our home, adding a patio, adding a garage, so anytime you're doing anything like that, watch your placement, or if you're thinking of doing that, before you plant something else in those areas, maybe think twice of doing your deck before you ever put in the other items.
All right, let's go back to the phone. Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Yes, good morning, Carol Ann.
Good morning.
A couple of weeks back, we took a ride out in the National Forest to visit our first home site, and I noticed driving along the roads out there that there's a tremendous amount of vines and stuff growing on trees, like they're almost overtaking them.
Yeah.
What's going on out there?
It's just that they're invasive species that come in. They were either brought in, sometimes they were inadvertently brought in as ornamental vines. Then they escape from the homestead, or the people leave, the homestead becomes vacant, and then those vines just leave. They just continue to grow because they're no longer kept in check by pruning and things like that. And things like wisteria will go up a tree. Wisteria will actually choke a tree to death. Beautiful vine. That's the Chinese wisteria. The American wisteria is not the invasive one. We have the air potato. The air potato is self-sowing, that it makes those tuber-like potato seeds. They're just a hard, fleshy tuber that will drop from the top of the trees. They fall down in the leaf litter, and the following year they're rooted. There's several others that'll do that as well, or not the potato, but
it looks like in some areas that they tried to spray it and it's dying. It looks yellow and dead.
Right.
Is that probably the way of correcting that problem?
It could be that they are trying to do some eradication on some of that, because I've even seen in a couple of areas where the paperbark mulberry, the wild mulberry trees, they too are a prolific invader. And I've seen a couple of areas where it looks like maybe the utilities crews have sprayed them, because I'm going, wait a minute, those have yellowed out a lot earlier than what they should have. And I realize it's a swath of them, so it could even be the road utility companies that come through that, they have that aerial cutter blade, not just a mower, but the one they can put up in the air. And they can go down along those rights of way and be able to cut those vines and some of those overhanging small limbs.
If nothing would be done, would that eventually kill our forest off?
It could. I mean, it would probably take a lot of time, but yes, they will kill the trees. The air potato will shade out a tree and smaller canopies in a very short period of time. And like I said, you get an escaping wisteria vine, and it will continue to grow, and actually strangle a full-grown tree to where it cuts off the tree's ability to process water and nutrients.
So you said that was brought in from out of country, huh?
A lot of that was. The air potato is, I believe, an Asian brought in. The Chinese wisteria, that has a very simple name. We know where that came from. Kudzu, we have some in this area, not necessarily a whole lot. Again, that was brought in. It was brought in as erosion control. The Kogan grass that you see around, that's just moreover a really tall, very sharp grass, was brought in as erosion control and hoping to be fodder for cattle. Well, cattle won't touch it. So instead it got itself established. You can't burn it out. Because you burn it, it grows better.
It's surprising you don't hear anything about it, because, driving around out there, I mean, it's all vines. You hardly see trees anymore. You think some people would start complaining about it or something.
Well, a lot of it is just natural. Some of it is also grapevine, and there's the native grapevines that just grow, and some of I think in some of the areas where they do the controlled burns, you don't have near as much vine action going on. But if you live in an area that has a lot of that, if you want to protect your home and landscape from fire, you want to get those vines out of those trees, because that's just a stair step. That's a ladder right up from the ground to the top of the trees, carrying fire, if should there be one near you, right on across the top of the canopy, possibly into your yard, onto your roof. So if you're ever looking for help on what they call landscaping for fire, or fire-wise landscaping, it is getting anything that's going to vine away from the home, getting it back far enough away from the property line, any of the wild vines that are not going to be an issue within the canopy of your trees,
Yeah.
because it will, if the grass is burning, it's going to go right up, zoom, right up the top of a tree and carry across to the next tree.
Yeah. A real quick question. You're talking about pine trees and harvesting. How long do they leave a tree grow before they go and harvest again?
If I'm not mistaken, which I could be, I believe it's 10 years.
10?
Yeah.
They grow that fast?
That they can grow, that they just grow. They're planted real close, so they all grow just straight up.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason they grow so quickly, they're started out as a seedling or a little sapling.
Yeah.
And when they burn off after they harvest those, that's just the nutrition that's there in that soil is fabulous.
In a forest fire, do those trees come back after they get burned out?
No.
No.
No, they
Once
usually
they're done,
will
they're done,
fall. Right.
Yeah.
If you look at in some of the areas now, they've grown back over. They've been replanted on some of the forest fire recovery areas. You'll still see a few snags out there that are still black.
Yeah.
Or and they have to leave. And I don't know how many it is per acre, but they have to leave certain ones up there for wildlife.
I know those controlled burns out there, the ground is all black and the trees are kind of blackish, maybe about a third of the way up, but they don't seem to be dead or nothing,
No, that doesn't hurt them because that's not a hot enough fire.
Okay.
That hasn't totally defoliated them. It hasn't run through there at whatever, 1,500 degrees to just cook the sap out of the trees.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right, and the phone lines are open. Did I flip a switch there accidentally? The phone lines are open. The number is 622-WOCA, the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, 622-WOCA.
There you go.
I want to speak to Carolyn.
Yeah. And just speaking of trees, this Saturday is the Master Gardener Fall Plant Sale, and this year's theme is Plant for Spring. Of putting plants in or trees in now, getting them established through the fall and winter months so that next spring you'll have some beautiful trees starting to leaf out and getting some, beginning to get themselves established. They've got a lot of different fruit trees out there, peaches, pears, nectarines, plums, figs. Those ones I know I saw, plus some other regular trees,
Really?
perennials.
So this is a good time to do that?
This is a good time because even though we're getting less rain, the temperatures are a little cooler. I know 86 degrees does not seem any cooler, but it is cooler than 95. And so there's a little less stress. The day length is shorter, so they're not trying to actively grow. They are kind of going into a dormancy, but they are putting a root zone together, and that's what you're looking for. Is something.
And is that true elsewhere or just in the South?
Mostly here.
Warmer?
Well, here because up north, if you planted now in another month or two, you might be coming into times where the ground is just frozen, and I believe they may probably do more of their planting. I'm not positive. I never planted really anything when I lived up there, so putting in. Fall and spring are probably your best time to put your larger plants in, but anything grown in a container, whether a rose bush, a camellia shrub, if it is grown in a container, it can pretty well be planted at any time of year because it's container grown. You're not transplanting it from a dirt area to another dirt area in the yard. Now, if you want to do that, you've been waiting all summer to transplant anything because you're waiting for the cooler months. This would probably be a good time to get prepared to do that. Find the area where you want to put it, get it roped off. If you need to do amendments to that soil or you want to do amendments, you can go ahead and do that, or need to kill off the grass. If you've got any vines, you've got any Virginia creeper, smilex vine, the blackberry, grape, that are all wild vines that'll grow through. If you need to kill those off in order to move a tree from one side of the yard to the other, whack the mic. Do that first, and because that's going to take several weeks before you'll see that stuff actually die back and die out of there.
Right.
You can, if it's a larger tree, you can go ahead and make that root prune circle in advance. That's just taking your shovel and stepping out from the trunk of the tree. As far as you think you can manage to be able to handle that root ball, and just cut straight down with a very sharp shovel all the way around the tree. And that way, that tree is now going to start to try to make roots further in. And then when it's time to dig it up, it's easier to just come out, be a little further out there, get up underneath there, and dig it up.
Sometimes it takes more than a shovel, right? Those roots can be
Some
tough.
of those roots, yeah, depending on the size of the
Yeah.
tree. If you're going for something that's really big, that's going to have a huge root ball, you're probably going to be calling a tree service.
Yeah. And what do they use differently than the average person would? Do they have it
They have a tree spade that can back up to it, and it's a giant.
Oh, okay. So it's
and it
huge.
just, yeah.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. They can it comes right over top of the canopy. They can move massive oak trees.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and I've seen pieces of property, like somebody buys a new place and they build a house on it, and there's no trees. And you come back like that afternoon, and it's full of trees. You go, wow.
Right, and many times they are just they were container grown, or they were. They got ball and burlap, where they were probably container grown, or they were dug up in advance, wrapped in the burlap, transported on a truck, and a couple big burly guys with a forklift or a hand cart wheel them into position and get
big
them
burly
planted.
guys,
Big burly
not pretty
guys.
boys, just
No,
big
burly guys.
There was a this is a place on 484 near Bellevue. I'm sure you're familiar with it, where they sell trees.
On 44?
484.
475 and 484.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Ben Oak Farm.
Yeah, but I mean, they've got huge trees that you can buy already huge.
Yes, yeah, that you can, if you need to, and that's a lot of people will, I mean, it's an expense, but if you're building an expensive home and you want your landscape to be ready to go.
Well, that must be who they cater to.
Pretty much.
People with money, because.
Or that, it's not just that, sometimes it is also a remediation, if something happened to a tree because of maybe county or city does something, runs over somebody's tree, that was a $150 tree.
No,
or
really?
a $300 tree that needs to be replaced because somebody with a dump truck backed into, or a business.
Does that happen often?
I'm not real sure how. I mean, it does occasionally. Maybe not the county or the city, but it could be a business. You're having some work done on your property, and somebody messes up with the backing up the dump truck or something, and hits
pushes
a tree.
It down?
Yeah, pushes a tree down.
Wow.
They have to do.
I
what
hit
they
my
can
head
to
all the
fix
time
it.
on the dangling oranges. I got dangling
Watch
oranges.
out for the dangling orange.
They're just hanging too low.
They're hanging too low, but just think, it's October now. We get a good cold spell, they're going to ripen up.
They don't look big this year.
No?
No, I don't know what happened.
Maybe they didn't get fertilized?
Well,
Well, did you have a good crop last year?
yes.
That could be why.
Very much so.
And that's something with citrus. It's not really an alternate bearing type tree, which alternate bearing means it'll have a heavy crop one year. The next year it may not have hardly a crop at all. The following year has a decent crop. Then the third year it'll have a really good crop again, and it keeps doing that.
That's interesting.
But
right now they're about the size of large golf balls, if golf balls could be larger than they are.
tennis ball, maybe?
No, not as big as
not
a
even
tennis ball.
quite as so between
somewhere
between a golf ball and a tennis ball.
Yeah, not big at all.
No, that isn't.
And it's still green.
Yeah.
So.
Because mine are beginning to color up. Again, fertilization in the spring, summer, and fall. We're past the time to do that. The only way to tell if citrus is ripe is, well, for one, it's not going to be ripe in October. Not usually anything we grow here. It's going to be November, December before ours really start to begin to ripen up. They should, when you grab the fruit, and this probably will look really weird on the screen, and you just want to tilt it, and it should pop off. It should just come off the stem. You shouldn't have to pull it, twist it, turn it, tug it, anything like that. It should just come off if it is fully ripe. Sometimes some of them will hang on. If you really want to try it and it's not coming off, clip them off. Don't tear it apart. It's not going to be good for your tree. It's going to just tear the skin on the fruit. And taste them. That's really about the only way you can tell citrus is ripe, is by taste, unless that comes off easily in your hand. And sometimes they'll have a little bit of give. When it's not going to be hard like a tennis ball. It's going to have a little bit of give to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of a cool thing to walk out your door and have some oranges right there.
Oh, that's it. Or squeeze some juice the evening before and have it in the fridge for breakfast.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I know that's what we do.
It's nature's flavor. Do you remember we had? I think this came up once on your show where we were talking about people who live in urban areas, like especially here in the South, where they can walk around their neighborhoods and literally pick fruit off of the trees that are extended over the sidewalk. They feel like
they
that's
hang over
theirs.
the fence.
They have a right to it, and they take it.
And in a way, I think sometimes the homeowners leave those branches over that way on purpose. I have loquat trees, which are the Japanese plum. Many people love them. I love them. I think they're great. And I have them out on the road. Well, there's no fence there, and yes, I have had people pull their car over and pick up, a couple handfuls of them to take with them.
Yeah.
If they didn't, I can't eat them all. The birds are going to get some more of them, so I might as well share.
And the pecans, I see those trees now and then. Down in Bellevue, I remember seeing them a lot. Yeah,
they should be starting to drop their nuts now. I know how do you say, drop their fruit? But it's usually it's a nice windy day when you find out if they are, because they come crashing, rattling down. Over by McPherson, there's still some of the pecan trees.
So are they?
That are there.
What do you do with them? You pick them up off the ground.
Pick them up off the ground and take them up and shell them.
Do you eat them as they are?
Yeah,
you eat them raw?
You can. Yeah.
Have you?
Don't eat a whole lot of them raw because they will give you a bellyache.
Really?
Yeah.
But do they taste like what you buy in the store?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't they cook the ones in the store? Don't they roast them?
It depends. If you get the ones that are shelled for like baking, already done, and actually the ones in the shell, they might be aged a little bit. Just dry, but usually when they come out of the tree, they're fabulous. Get a little bit of salt, shell them up. There's
so much in these health books that we speak to the authors about tree nuts being healthy for you. A number of reasons.
And the pecans they're delicious. They're local. They grow well here. The only problem with putting a pecan tree in the landscape, one, it's a huge tree. They're massive. They are huge trees. You have to have the room to put them. You also need to put it out where you don't have other trees or roofs because of squirrels. Squirrels can eat 35 pounds of pecans in a season.
Okay.
And you need to have a pollinator tree within 1 mile of your tree. So you either have to have one somewhere else in the neighborhood, and that they take a long time to actually begin to bear. The trees that you usually find are going to be bare root trees, and you're talking probably 5 to 10 years before you get any nuts from it.
Oh, so you got to wait a while.
You got to, that would be the kind of thing. If you really want the pecan tree, they're a beautiful tree. Once they begin growing, if they happen to have any pest or disease issues, it's not cost effective for the homeowner to treat them. They're just too big of a tree, and but they are gorgeous. They're a wonderful tree.
And you have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Hey, this is Bruce. They had some tongue oil. I need to know a little bit about it. I remember we were making pictures up in the same Tallahassee. And we come out through the forest there, and Lord Almighty, the most beautiful blooms, pink blooms, and this just looked like there was miles of that tongue oil. Whatever happened to it in Florida here, or down in Ocala?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with it in this. Let me see if I can find it and just find in mine and see what might have happened to it. And see, because I guess I haven't been here quite long enough to know on that one.
Well, there was a man that developed a large tongue oil here in Marion County, I'd say right after World War II, because I went out there and took pictures of it. But now it's gone. There's nothing. And it was on the way to Gainesville on 0441.
Oh, okay.
And it's gone now. I don't know. It's nothing there, but he had tongue oil there, man. We looked big. Well, it was such in demand. So what happened? Do you know anything more about it?
I don't. I'll do a little research on it, because that's something that you would think that somebody would try to keep it going, but it does. If anybody's not familiar with it, it is one of the. It's within the euphorbia family. It gets its common name from the seeds, the oil seeds, used as a drying agent in paints and varnishes, and also as a lubricant in jet engines in World War II.
Well,
wow.
They use that in paints, as I understand.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they still do, or whether or not something was synthetically created. Native to Central Asia, tree grows quickly to 15 to 20 feet tall and wide, broadly rounded, dark green leaves, 6 inches across, turn orange and red in fall, so it would give a fall color. Small tubular pinkish white flowers with darker markings appear in early spring.
It's just things have changed so much. Probably they used the tung oil in an oil type of paint, and the oil type of paint with lead in it disappeared.
That's true. And it could be that it could be that it worked within the lead and the oil-based paints more than what it would today. But I know you do hear of tung oil occasionally, even still. But it is self-sowing, though, prolifically, and is naturalized throughout much of the lower and coastal South. Seldom grown as an ornamental, since the nuts make a mess when they fall. So that might be it, as they may have actually cut some of them.
I knew I'd get some kind of an answer, because you always have vast knowledge. I listen to you each time when I go into town going to work. And I always listen to you every week.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I just enjoy you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the hang up.
Thank you, Bruce. Nice comments there.
I'll do a little, see if I swing a little research in on that, because that's something that when it was apparently a commercial venue within the area for at least some while, and did, that they say they naturalized. I'm just kind of wondering why we're not seeing some of them now.
It's amazing some of the things that we use for other things. Like when you say aircraft lubricant.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of amazing that comes from a tree.
That comes from a tree, or that, just that it was an ingredient into paint.
Yeah.
And lacquers and finishes, and so that was. It's just one of
I remember as a kid learning about papyrus and how it's paper made from a plant. It's just
right.
It's like you look at a piece of paper, that's hard to believe that was a tree.
Well, and just think that the papyrus paper was done, and then now we make out of the pulp mill, out of the byproduct of the lumber and timber industry.
There's a little kit you could buy, I think, at Michael's.
You can take your old newspaper and make new paper from it?
No, where you take papyrus leaves and make them into paper.
Oh,
there's some kind of a kit over there.
Oh, cute.
Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Good morning. It's interesting the guy brought up the tung oil trees. They used to be all over Marion County when I was a little kid. But those man, talking about some hard things, the nuts that come off those trees. They used to make furniture, polish and stuff out of the oil, out of those things too. But they were really, really predominant at one time, especially in this area too. But man, those things were hard things.
And apparently messy on the flowers and stuff, that when they dropped, and that just suddenly they're gone. I'm wondering whether or not, because it said what I was looking at when talking to him was that its growth area is zones 9 to 12. So it could be we've had a couple of winters that knocked them out.
That and also they were like a lot of times in same areas where you had a lot of pecan trees and stuff. But I think mainly the population growth is actually what eradicated a lot of.
That when they cleared off areas that they just, you're right, they unearthed those because they were a planted tree, didn't need the
but those things were hard. They actually used to pay people. They used to have the little tung oil fields where they would pay people to. It was an industry at one time.
Sure. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of unusual that now you don't see. Well, then we'll probably have somebody call us in a week or two going, "Oh yeah, I have 3 on the end of my property," but that they're not around anymore, especially when it's folks that have lived in the county for an extended time. And I've been here in Marion County for about 28 years. a little better than 28 years. And
your pecan tree could be producing pecans by now.
It could be if I'd have planted it. That's right.
Yeah, I got some on the property that I have in town, but unfortunately the people over there, like, it's unbelievable. They're in there in the parking lot. I think they don't even allow them to get off the tree sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Have a good one.
All right,
good
thanks.
listening to you.
You too. Thank you.
All right, we need to take a little break.
All right.
And it's probably my fault for starting late, so we got our break in late. We'll take a little break and be right back. If you have a question for Carol Ann or just want to join in on the conversation, the number is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, 622-9622. We'll take a break and be back in 2 minutes.
It's Saturday morning football season. Time to kick it off with some great food and one of your favorite beverages. But where to go? Well, try Brunch on Broadway. Check out Football Saturdays at Pie on Broadway every week at 10 a.m. for the perfect blend of football, food, and fun. At Pie on Broadway in downtown Ocala, we'll get you ready for all the big games with the live broadcast of Buddy Martin's Saturday Sports page on WOCA AM and FM. Saturdays are also good days to stroll around beautiful downtown Ocala. Head to the farm market on the square and then enjoy Brunch on Broadway just in time to watch ESPN's Game Day on one of our TVs. Of course, Pie is also a great place to dine for lunch and dinner the rest of the week, too. But Football Saturday at Pie on Broadway is special. Pie on Broadway, where you get to the college spirit with Brunch on Broadway as your pre-kickoff menu.
Stay informed on everything going on in the villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online. The Second Amendment protects all other amendments. If the Second Amendment is lost, so is our liberty. Come join us this Saturday, October 6th, from noon to 6 p.m. at the Open Door Community Church in Summerfield, Florida, for the Second Amendment celebration. Guest speakers include Sheriff Richard Mack, the most respected sheriff in America, and who defeated the Brady Bill in 1997 in the U.S. Supreme Court, and Larry Prant, founder and president of Gun Owners of America. Music by Reverend Blues, with food provided by Dairy Queen. Cost is $5 for adults, and children under 12 free, with activities for the children. This celebration sponsored by Bernie DeCastro and lovers of the U.S. Constitution. To register, go to www.numeral2nd-amend.com. That's www.numeral2nd-amend.com. Come join us this Saturday, October 6th, from noon to 6 p.m. at the Open Door Community Church in Summerfield, Florida, for the Second Amendment celebration.
All right, thank you, Joe. 15 minutes before 10 o'clock, let's rejoin Carol Ann Baldwin, and You've Got a Garden. And Carol Ann, you've got a phone call.
Cool.
Let's go to the phone. Good morning. Thank you for waiting. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Hey, Carol Ann and Larry.
Hey, Fred.
Hey.
I had a little something unusual happen in my yard, and I wanted to talk to you about it. See if I'm off base.
All right.
Are you still having trouble, say, in your yards with fire ants?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the time of year.
Well, I got an unusual thing in that I don't have any fire ants in my yard anymore.
Ah.
And I think I know what's happened is that since I quit gardening,
right,
I haven't worried about moles. I let the moles have taken over my backyard.
Okay.
And I found a fire ant bed, just a small one, and so I went to treat it. And when I stepped down on it, I went way down about 3.5, 4 inches.
Oh.
I found out that there was a mole runway underneath the top of, and I noticed that 2 or 3 other beds that I've had, it looks like the moles have taken an unusual liking to fire ants.
Huh. Well, maybe you're onto something. Because I know where my ant problem is, which actually this is the maybe the second year in a long time that I'm getting an ant population back. I had pretty much gotten rid of mine for a while, but they're coming up in areas where it's probably not a mole. There probably isn't a mole under there because it's in like the hard rocky part of the driveway.
Oh yeah.
And around some old roots that have come up out of the ground. So it's a area where probably a mole isn't. So it could be that the moles are enjoying your fire ants.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait a couple of years to see if the mole population comes back. It's other people have mole populations going down.
Right. If folks are able to ignore the mole, that's the hardest part is ignoring the mole. But it's funny. Years ago, my mother-in-law, we had moles. We've had moles on the property, but never really did anything about them. When you'd go out to the clothesline, there'd be looky there. And so what did you do? You hung up the clothes and you went and you stomped the tunnels down, and it would just send them a little, So you just lived with it, and they really didn't do for us that much damage.
Well, you ain't gonna believe it, but the moles give my garden mower a bit once in a while. More along the edge of the fence around my property,
right?
And sometimes the moles will go right along the edge of the fence and if my tractor
the wheels get squished,
the wheels squeeze it down, I'm stuck.
right, and that's true, because that's where they will travel along a concrete foundation, along a walkway. They like to go right there, and I guess it's because the soil doesn't get compacted there.
Well, what I'm finding interesting is that I've got the regular floor, the ants that were normally here before the fire ants come.
Right.
I got them all over the yard, and the moles don't seem to be bothering them.
Don't seem to be bothering them. Huh. Interesting. Be something to watch and see.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, I'm curious about it. And
yeah.
Maybe I'm jumping the gun. I don't know.
That or you're lucky.
Okay, I said enough.
All right, thanks, Fred.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I think you have another call. Good one. Oops, I guess not.
Yeah, they didn't want to hold.
It's open now if you want to call back, and Carolyn will take your call.
And one thing this time of year that we can begin to think about is strawberry plants. If we're thinking about the vegetable garden, or even, strawberries you can plant in the beautiful planters on a patio, or they make some of these bags that'll hang that you can plant them and have them all hang down. Strawberry plants should be starting to come in and to the garden centers and to some of the other nurseries. You may take a look around and see what they may have. Strawberries when you're planting strawberries, I guess the best thing to do is make sure that the crown, the center of the little plant, is not buried. If you bury that, the plant will make leaves, but it generally won't fruit. And in our area, even though most people think of strawberries as being perennial, we many times just grow them as an annual because they don't survive the summer. We get too wet, too humid, and the plants succumb to disease over the summertime. Some people have had luck by taking and moving them into a more shaded location or up into a greenhouse or a shade house to where they can protect them, because you can keep the plants going. Up north, people have a strawberry bed, and it goes for year after year after year. And every few years they thin it out and replace plants with younger plants so that they'll once it's the bearing starts to slow down. They're regular feeders. Some of the biggest pest issue can be mites. So to keep an eye out for mites, and they're not necessarily spider mites, but mites nonetheless. There's several different varieties, and you have to watch, and find a miticide that's labeled for use on fruits and vegetables, or a simple oil and horticultural oil that's labeled for use on fruits and vegetables, being careful again that it's not too hot out on those days when you need to treat them. And because you figure here it is October, I believe it's come November-ish, December, that Plant City strawberries will be they'll be starting to harvest it. You'll be starting to see the folks sitting on the side of the road selling the Plant City strawberries, that we can get the strawberries. Usually you can get a few of them in our area by Thanksgiving or Christmas, and with the bulk of the harvest coming actually as it starts to warm back up. But the plants get well established here in October, November, and they will continue to produce until it gets hot.
Right.
But they're kind of fun to grow.
Do we sometimes, are we confused by things being named incorrectly? For example, when we say tree nuts, the only other nut that wouldn't be, in my mind, I'm sure there are others. Mm-hmm. There's a peanut, which is not really a nut.
It's not a nut, it's a legume.
Okay. So is that true for, like, when they say cocoa bean, is it really a nut?
It's a seed.
It's
so
a seed.
in a way, you could...
okay. So is it a...
The cocoa bean and the coffee bean is that. It's a bean.
So the thing we make chocolate out of?
There's usually a fleshy, like a coffee bean has a fleshy outer part of it before you get into the hard inner side that they roast and grind into coffee.
The cocoa bean, I mean.
Well, I know, but I'm saying the coffee bean. The cocoa bean, I believe, is probably a similar...
Is that what they make chocolate out of, the cocoa bean?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it taste like chocolate?
Probably not the way you think about it, no. Because it's processed with lye or alkali.
Really?
Alkalines. Yeah, if you read a candy bar. Not lye, alkaline. An alkali.
Okay. I gotcha.
Which actually I think is lye.
Really?
There's a lot,
Really?
Soapy.
So I guess it's sort of like a coconut.
A coconut
but
out of a tree.
But that really is a nut, even though it's huge.
I don't know if it would be considered a nut or not on that. I'm not sure if the coconut, the coconut, if that's actually a nut or we just call it by that. But yeah, your other tree nuts, your Brazil nuts, your filberts, your pistachios.
So are there any other non-tree nuts other than peanuts?
I don't know. I only know,
because when they say, like in the ag reports, they say the tree nuts.
And tree nuts, right. Like that, and I think that's just a grouping of, that they're not peanuts. They're not legumes. They're not soybeans.
Okay. Yeah. And we do have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Yeah, it's me again.
Yes.
Hey, talking about the lye or stuff like that. Well, the chemical compound formula is sodium chloride.
Okay.
Sodium chloride, and also potassium chloride makes a form of lye, but they call it something else, and I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'm not too good on all those ones of the chemicals. You got me on those.
Well, one time I had to work with all kinds of stuff like that, but it's been years since I've been working, so I'm a little rusty.
Oh, well, but it's still in there. Just got to bring it to the surface.
There you go. Okay, I'll let you go and let somebody else talk.
All right, appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you, Fred. I thought we had another line, but it doesn't look like it. Okay, the line is open now if you want to call in. So we are, things got mislabeled somewhere along the way, and that's just the name that stuck.
It's and just I think that when you're saying tree nut, it's just that whole classification of all of them. Mm-hmm. So it's,
Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Good morning. Sodium chloride describes table salt. To correct Fred. And also, as far as tree nuts, Google cashew and discover how complicated it is.
Oh, to harvest cashews.
Those in a can.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They're not easy.
And yet they're affordable.
And Brazil nuts are another one, really, that would be a little scary if you thought you were one of the people that were going to go out and harvest Brazil nuts.
Really?
The Brazil nut comes in an initial husk about the size of a baseball.
Really?
And, of course, the trees are about 30 feet high, and so they come crashing down to the ground, breaks that open, and then the nut in the smaller shell is in there.
That's the toughest nut, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
one
one
tough nut to crack.
That's the one you need a nutcracker for.
Yeah.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Morning.
I just tuned in, and I wanted to double check that the plant sale is this Saturday.
This Saturday, sure is, from I think it's 8 to noon.
Okay.
Over there at the county extension. If anybody has never been there, I believe the address is 2232 Northeast Jacksonville Road, and it is in the back, in the area which is their propagation area.
Right. I've been there, so I know very well.
And come early because we all know it all sells out quick.
Right. I have one question. I have this big, beautiful shrub in my yard. I believe it's called a desert rose. Is that the one that looks like a double hibiscus?
No. Texas, there's a Texas rose hibiscus that's not really doesn't look like the tropical hibiscus in the leaves. It's more of a hand or palmate shaped leaf, much more open, very tall, with a large flower on it about the size of a dinner plate.
Yeah, no, it's not that big. I just must have the wrong complete name.
The desert rose is more like a succulent or a cactus with small oval leaves.
That's why I thought I was getting that mixed up. Shoot. Maybe this will help you.
Maybe it's the Confederate rose.
Confederate
rose, where the flower starts out white, goes pink, turns red.
Right. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Confederate. Yeah. Okay. That is a wonderful, beautiful flower.
They are a beautiful shrub. The only problem really with those is whitefly. They are a whitefly magnet. That's why most of the time you don't find nurseries growing them.
Wow.
Because they have to be, especially in a nursery setting, it has to be treated for the whitefly.
Wow. I'll have to keep an eye on it then.
Yeah.
Somebody did give it to me, but a year ago when I had it, it kept growing and growing and growing, and it was like 20 feet high.
Yeah.
And then it wanted water, so this past summer I just kept cutting it down until just maybe a month ago, and that I didn't know if that would hurt the blooms or not, but it did not hurt the blooms at all.
Okay, you gotten buds setting on it?
It's loaded with buds.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yes, and what a delightful flower, because it's you could like just pick a bloom and just have them different places in the house, and you got a day's flower for it.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that is an interesting plant, the Confederate rose. It is one of the hibiscus in the mallow family, the hibiscus family, and it blooms this time of year. It's a fall bloomer naturally, not anything that's been forced. The flower begins white in the morning, and as the story goes, it's the Confederate during the Civil War with the white of the purity of heart. And as the day goes by, the flower becomes pink with the bloodshed, and then red at the end of the day. The flower only lasts one day.
Wow.
Is the death. But you have flowers generally coming out every day.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Just a neat plant.
And you have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
I've just enjoyed these Confederate roses for years, but I wanted to mention they are so easy to grow.
Yes.
When you cut them off, when you're cutting them back in the spring, if you just stick a few in some potting soil, they'll just grow.
They'll just root on for you. Yeah.
Plant more around your yard or give them away.
And that's the best way to do it. Share them with your friends.
Yeah, they are so easy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
Your joy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Is one woman's flower easy to another woman's flower that's not?
Well, no. It is. It's truly
it's easy to everybody.
Hibiscus are really easy. The Confederate rose is a really easy plant. And like I said, you don't find them too much in the nurseries only because of that issue with the whitefly. But the homeowner who, she may grow, she may do her cuttings, do up a few to share with friends and family. That's an easy way to get a hold of one. And, and sometimes you may find them at small, maybe at the farmer's market this spring or even this time of year where somebody did go ahead and do the battle with the whitefly issue. And
is this the same one that's also called the resurrection rose, or is that something different?
That's probably something I'm not sure. There's a resurrection fern
that looks
all brown and dead, and some people may call it a resurrection rose, but that's not.
Okay, now here's what I'm asking. Somebody brought a plant in here one time, and it was not in soil. It was just like they picked it, and it was dead.
Okay.
And it came, like in a day or two, it was back to looking pretty. What the heck was that?
I'm not sure what that was.
Okay, it was years ago. Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Good morning, Larry. This is Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Asking your guest about the Mexican petunia.
Yeah.
I've got them in profusion, a gorgeous purple flower that comes out every day, and as the day progresses, the flowers drop off.
Right.
The other thing about it is that it grows exponentially.
Yes.
I mean, it just throws up shoots all over the place.
Yep.
And should I keep them cut down? Because I split some up, and that root system was unbelievable.
Oh, it is.
Hardly any soil left, and should I prune them regularly, or what do you suggest?
On pruning, if you've got shoots coming up where you don't want them, I would come back to where you have them planted and cut down in the ground there so that you can then either spray those unwanted ones with a little herbicide and it won't go back and kill your other ones, or just pull them up after that. And you can prune them. I have seen them kept to about a 2.5 to 3 foot hedge as a median, as a display in front of an apartment complex down south. I've seen them kept at about 4 feet along a chain link fence to hide a chain link fence. So that option is up to you. I also did some pruning of some for a lady I did some work for, and to keep them under her bedroom window because she enjoyed them but didn't want them covering the window up. So the option is up to you. You can prune them. It doesn't bother them, but when they do start sending shoots up across the garden, you might come back to that area where you have them and try to chase that back and just cut that off there. And that way you can, when you pull it up or you try to pull it up, you may be able to get that under control a little bit.
Okay, when they grow so tall, should I cut them back at all?
You can. You don't have to, but you can. How high are yours getting?
Right now I'm looking at them, and they are probably 4 feet high.
4 or 5 feet, yeah. If that's too high for where you have them, sure, just reach in there and cut them. I like to cut them. You know, there's nodes that are going down each of those stems. Cut it right above it.
Oh, above the node?
Above the node, and then it will branch from there.
Oh, I get you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you, Ken. Good to hear from you. Carolyn, another good show?
Yeah.
As always, online, on Facebook, everywhere.
Online, on Facebook. Look us up on Facebook.
And the next event is?
Next event is this Saturday, the Master Gardener's Fall Plant Sale from 8 to noon at the County Extension Office property there in the back in the propagation area. Come early, as the selection is of course the best early on, and they do sell out quick.
All right, very good. Thank you, Carolyn. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
We'll take a little break and make room for Carolyn Biddle and Joe Fowler on Realty Reality coming up in about a minute and a half.
Garden parties, I wish you a lot of luck.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala!
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. Sounding like a school kid who hates homework, President Obama lamented that debate prep is a drag. The president's doing prep work in Henderson, Nevada, while First Lady Michelle campaigns in Ohio. Early voting gets underway today there. Mitt Romney is already in Denver, the site of tomorrow's first debate. Running mate Paul Ryan is visiting 3 towns on a bus tour of Iowa. American Airlines has grounded 8 of its 757 jets for inspections after seats broke loose from their moorings on 3 separate flights. No one was hurt, and the airline says it's acting out of an abundance of caution. The FAA is also investigating. Chrysler sales revved up 12% last month, its best September in 5 years. If you've had enough of Gangnam-style dancing and Call Me Maybe spoofs, a new YouTube channel called Take Part TV promises to spread positive ideas that will change the world. Producers are trying to channel the energy people use to share mindless viral videos to share clips with positive political messages. It's a girl for Drew Barrymore and her husband. The actress named her first child Olive. This is ABC News.
When you're running a facility, safety is key. That's why Grainger offers over 80,000 diverse safety products, all to help you reduce injuries